Hello folks and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be having a look at another new radio released from Baofeng, which is the Baofeng K61 Pro. Important to notice the Pro in the name of the radio. It's also known as the K6 Pro. If you look at the manual that comes with the radio, you'll see it's also identified as the K6 Pro series. So whether you call it the K6 or the K61, they're both exactly the same radio, just that when you get the manual it says K6 on it, so don't worry about that. K6, K61, whichever you call it, they're exactly the same radio. When I bought this one, I bought it on AliExpress and it was labelled as the K61 Pro. And indeed, if we look underneath the battery on the radio, we can see there that the name of the radio is, the model is the K61 Pro. So I think really that's what I'm going to refer to it as from now on, the K61. But if you see it labelled as the K6 Pro, it's still the same radio. K6, K61. But I'm going to call it the K61 because that's what the label says under the battery. So here we have it, and on first glance you'd be forgiven for thinking, well, that's just a K6 in a different colour, it's green instead of orange. But actually it's not. The K6 and the K61 and the K61 Pro are actually quite different in a lot of ways. Here we have the older model, the K6. As we can see, it has orange on-off knob, orange VM button, but at a quick glance they look virtually identical until you actually switch them on. And if we switch on the new K61 Pro, we'll see that the screen is actually quite different on the K61 Pro.
Welcome, frequency mode.
As we can see straight away, the new screen on the K61 is black with white fonts on it, whereas on the old K6, K61, the screen was orange with black fonts. So quite an upgrade and a difference in the screens straight away on the two radios. Otherwise, they look almost identical. In fact, they do bear a resemblance to the Quansheng, which is this radio here, the Quansheng UVK5. As we can see, they look similar sort of styling, but they have nothing to do with the Quansheng. So please, folks, don't confuse the Quansheng UVK5 or any of the similar model Quanshengs with the Baofengs, because they have nothing in common. They don't use the same programming software. Nothing about them really is the same. So don't worry about that. We have the old K6, K61 model here, and the new K61, K6 Pro version. Very, very similar dimensionally and layout wise. As I say, the only immediate difference that you notice is the orange button on the old model and the green coloration on the new model. The screen is actually a bit different, and it's not quite as wide as the original K61. It's sort of in a more portrait orientation, whereas the old K6, K61 was in like a landscape orientation. But other than that, the actual dimensions of the screen are very similar. So yeah, similar but different. As I say, this is why I'm going to entitle this video Unidentical Twins, because despite looking very similar, they have some very subtle and very unique characteristics to them, and are quite different in some ways. But we'll get into that as we go through it. So we'll take the old model out of the way for the minute and we'll have a look around the new model. As I say, I do like the new screen on the new model, this black background with the white fonts on it. Quite attractive. Nothing too surprising really about the layout of the screen. It's pretty standard. I mean, we have our top A frequency on the top and our B frequency on the bottom. You can toggle between those simply by a quick press of the A-B button. There's a little red arrow on the top frequency there indicating that we're currently on A band on the top. But if you give that a quick press, the little red arrow will toggle down to the bottom, indicating that we're operating on the bottom frequency. Hope you can see that, folks. It's not very big on the screen, but it's there. So that's how you toggle between your A and B. Pretty standard stuff for any Baofeng radio. It has an A-B button. Up on the top left, we can see there's the letter H indicating that we're currently in high power in this radio. It has a choice of high or low power, so that's quite nice feature. And you can actually toggle between high and low power by a long press of the side key, the bottom side key. If you long press the bottom side key, the radio will toggle between high and low, which is a nice touch. I'll do that now. And there you can see that our icon has changed. In the top left, it's changed from H to an L, indicating that the radio is now in low power. So a nice touch there. You can quickly toggle between high and low power by a long press on the bottom side key, or side key 2 if you prefer to call it that. So we'll put it back in high power again, change back to an H. The letter N there is indicating that we're currently in narrow band rather than wide band. If we're in wide band, you don't get that N letter. It only appears if you're operating in narrow band. And the top right, we see we're in VFO, which is indicating that we're in frequency mode rather than channel mode. And top right, we have our battery level indicator. So that covers just about everything on the screen. As I say, I do like the new layout of the screen, the black background and the white fonts. Our V and M button, top left corner there, that's our usual toggle between frequency mode and channel mode.
Channel mode. Frequency mode.
So anyone who owns a UV5R will be familiar with that button. Yeah, nothing too surprising there. Say below that is our A and B for toggling between the top and bottom frequencies, and below that, in common with the old model, we can see that we have a frequency search button here. The old K6, K61 has that as well. A nice touch again. If you long press that, the radio will start seeking. It says it's seeking. It's actually searching for any radio that keys up within range of your radio, and if it picks up a transmission that somebody's transmitting within range of your radio, it will display the radio frequency in any CTCSS tone or whatever that they happen to be using. So that's a nice touch there, a nice feature to have. Don't confuse the search button with the standard the scan button, which, as in common with most Baofengs, is the bottom right hand #Z key. If you long press that, the radio will go into a scan, not into a frequency search. It'll just go into a normal scan mode. So important to differentiate between those, but that's your scan button, bottom right #Z. Long press that and the radio will go into scan. If we go around the side, we can see we have our push to talk button up the top, our two side keys here. I think I'm correct in saying that only the bottom side key 2 is programmable, but we have our two side keys there. The top key, if we press that, yes, our old friend the flashlight exists there. Somewhat unusually, if you press the button again, normally you would get a flashing flashlight, but it just turns it off in this case. So you have a choice of either on or off. There's no flashing flashlight that you usually get on the Baofeng. Below that, as I say, we've got the second side key, and if we press that, by default, this will turn the broadcast FM radio on. So there you go. That's the default setting for the bottom side key 2. It is programmable for different functions in the software, which we'll get to later. But that's the default setting. So top key is your flashlight. Bottom side key is your FM broadcast radio, and of course your push to talk button on the top there. self-explanatory. Round the back we can see we have the plastic type clip that clips onto the battery itself, not onto the radio body. It clips into the battery. So if you change a battery on this radio, if you have a spare battery, then you're going to remove your belt clip as well. But the belt clip is quite easily and quickly removed just by, there's a little tag there at the top. If you pull that, then you can quite quickly release the belt clip. So not a big issue there. Don't think it's as strong as the old like 2 screws that's used to screw into the radio body that we used to get on Baofengs, but it does the job. It's functional, so we'll not worry about that. Below that we can see that we have a USB-C charging port and a little LED. Beside that, it will turn red when it's charging and green when the battery is fully charged. And below that we can see we have contacts for a cradle charger. The radio does come with a cradle charger, and we have a choice of either cradle charging or USB-C charging. It's always a nice touch to have that. As for the battery itself, if we take a look at that, the battery itself is, in common with the old model, is a 2600 milliamp hour battery. So nice, powerful little, packs quite a punch there, 2600 milliamp hours. So yeah, nice little battery there. Underneath the battery, the label on the radio states the frequency range and the model. The model is the K61 Pro. So despite, the manual actually saying just K6 Pro series, it is actually the radio is K61 Pro. So that's how I'm going to refer to it. And as we can see here, the frequency range of the radio is 136 to 174, 200 to 260 megahertz, 400, 520 megahertz. So it's a tri-bander and covers the commonly used bands, 2 meters, 70 centimeters, and even the 1.25 meter band.
Welcome, frequency mode.
Round the other side, we have, under our rubber flap, we have our standard 2-pin Kenwood type programming socket for a standard Baofeng programming cable, so no big surprises there. Or you can use the microphone earpiece, which also comes included with the radio. So that's what that's for. Pretty straightforward programming on this radio. You can use your standard Baofeng USB to 2-pin Kenwood type cable. There's actually another little rubber flap there, but there's nothing underneath it. There's just looks like there could have been a USB socket in there, but there isn't. There's nothing in there. So if you want to charge this radio via USB-C, you've got to use the socket on the battery. There's nothing under that flap. So there we have it. Keyboard's pretty standard alphanumeric layout. It doesn't have any shortcuts on the keypad, so no shortcuts there. Which is a bit of a shame. I always like to have some shortcuts on the keyboard, but it is what it is. To access the menu on the radio is the button that says menu. Quick pressing that brings us into our menu.
Menu.
And as we see, we're currently on menu item number 1, receive frequency, and there are 66 items in this menu, so there's quite a lot to scroll through there. I'm not going to bore you all with going through every item in the menu, but there are 66 items to go through in the menu, all the usual stuff in there. If you quickly flick through a few of them there, so all standard stuff. I notice they've got VFO Ranger, so a bit of a typo that they have in there. I remember that on the EV17 Pro GPS, so a bit of a typo there, but we'll forgive them for that. But as I say, there's 66 menu items in all for you to scroll through for setting the various parameters on the radio. So yeah, all in all, very nice little radio. The new Baofeng K61, I'm going to call it the K61 Pro. And it differs, as I say, from the old model K61 in quite a few areas as we'll go through. I mean, despite looking identical other than the coloration, they are quite different. The screen's very different on it, the black background with the white fronts and the orange screen on the old model. Another important difference with these two radios is the programming software. In common with the old model, which has no chirp support, the K6, K61 never had any chirp support. It only uses CPS software. You can find the CPS software for the K6, K61 on baofengradio.com's website. Go to their support page, their driver page, and you will see the K6 software on there. And that's the CPS programming software to use for the old model, the old K6, K61. The new model, however, this presented me with a bit of a headache because the K6, K61 CPS software didn't work with this radio. There's no chirp support for it. The K6 programming software didn't work for it. I tried a few others and I'd almost drawn a blank until I took a punt on, of all things, the programming software for
Welcome, frequency mode.
this radio. Of all the radios, this radio is the Baofeng 5RH Pro, which is a completely different radio, really. I mean, this radio has it has GPS support, it has zones. It doesn't look anything like the K6 Pro. But believe it or not, folks, the programming software for the 5RH Pro, which has now been renamed by Baofeng, by the way, to the UV5RM Plus GPS, quite a mouthful, but that's what they call it now. That is the programming software that you have to select to program this radio. The Baofeng K6, K61 Pro series uses the same programming software as this radio, the 5RH Pro or the UV5RM Plus GPS. So there you go, folks. That was quite a headache trying to find the CPS programming software, but I got there in the end. I'll just demonstrate that to you. I have the actual support page open on baofengradio.com's driver download software and driver download page. If you go to the baofengradio.com's web page and go to their driver support page, you will see on that page is listed the K6. Now that is for the old radio, the old orange screen radio. The K6 software, CPS software, is for the old model. It will not work with the new model, the K6, K61 Pro. And the selection you have to make for the K61 Pro series radio is this one here, which has just been added by baofengradio.com, and it is known as the UV5RM Plus GPS. So if you want to program that radio, you have to download that CPS software for it, the UV5RM Plus GPS. And that will program your radio. So that was that issue solved, and it was quite a baffling one, as I say. It was just by chance, really, more than anything else. I took a punt on it, and thankfully the software for the 5RM Plus GPS CPS software works with this radio. So anybody who's having a headache trying to find the CPS programming software for this model, for this new model, the K61 Pro, that's where you'll find it. So now that we've established that, we've had a quick look around the radio. It is a very nice little radio. I do, as I say, I do like the new screen on it. I think we'll do a quick power test on it, and because I know a lot of you are interested in what the power output of these radios are on the 2 meter 70 cm and 1.25 meter band. So we'll turn our radio off, disconnect our antenna. Standard little rubber duct antenna, exactly the same as the old model. In fact, I would go as far as to say that the batteries are probably interchangeable between the two models, because they both use a 2600 milliamp hour battery. The antennas are exactly the same, so I don't see there would be any issue between swapping batteries between them. But we'll connect up our Surecom SW33 power meter here, and we're going into 25 watt 50 ohm dummy load. So we'll get this connected up here. Just bear with me, folks, as I screw her in here. It's facing the wrong way, of course, but don't worry about that.
Welcome. Frequency mode.
So we're currently on, as we can see, the frequency we have in there is 220, which, as we know, is the start of the 1.25 meter band. Band they use in the USA. We don't use it in the UK, but for our brothers over there in America, we'll give it a quick test on the 1.25 meter band to see what sort of power output we're getting on 1.25 meters, 220 megahertz. So we'll turn on our power meter and see what we're going to get on 1.25 meters. So here we go, folks. Give it a quick press. And yes, a very healthy, very respectable 3.7 watts. Hope you can see that okay there. 3.7 watts on 1.25 meters, the 220 megahertz 1.25 meter band. So we'll try see what we're getting on the 2 meter band. We'll just put in that's the 2 meter calling channel frequency for the UK, 145,500 megahertz. So we'll switch on our power meter again. And this time we'll see what we're getting on 2 meters on the 2 meter band, 145,500 megahertz. And a very respectable 5.1, 5.2 watts on the 2 meter band. So all good there. So the only one left to test now is the 70 centimeter band. So we'll give that a quick go here. 433,500. Which is 70 centimeter calling channel for the UK. So we'll see what we're getting on 70 cems. So here we go, 70 centimeters on full power, and we're getting a very respectable 4.5 watts. So generally speaking, we're getting between 4 and 5 watts generally across the bands on the radio. So sort of typical for a Baofeng, really. Nothing too spectacular, but nothing out of the ordinary there. So all good on the power test on the radio. So yeah, all in all, a very nice little radio. As I say, it has its idiosyncrasies in that it's really strange that the only CPS programming software that we can get that works with this radio is, of all radios, the new UV5RM Plus GPS, and that software works.
Welcome. Frequency mode.
With the new Baofeng K61 Pro series radio. So anyway, thanks. Just a quick review there, folks. Nice little radio all in all. Very similar, at least appearance-wise, to the old K6, but in some ways they're quite different, and the programming software is different. The screen
Channel mode
is different. You get the rather nice black with white fonts on the new model. On the old model, you just had the plain orange screen. So despite looking the same, the functionally, yeah, they have a few important differences, and as I say, the most important differences for anyone who's trying to find CPS programming software for either of these radios. Neither of them are supported in Chirp. You have to use CPS programming software. The old model uses the K6 selection in baofengradio.com support page, the new model, you have to select a UV5RM Plus GPS. So thanks for watching the video, folks. Nice little radio. I do like it. Quite compact, stylish looking little model from Baofeng. Does cover tri-band, transmit on 2 meters 77s and 1.25. Also covers airband. I don't think I mentioned that. If you punch in, for instance, my local approach frequency here to Belfast International, we can see it accepts the airband frequency, and up in the top right hand corner you'll see that we get an AM signal instead of FM, because obviously to receive airband you have to go into amplitude modulation, but the radio does support airband receive. Haven't really tried it that much, but it's there. It's probably the usual sort of slope detection type, so probably not the clearest of audio, but it does work, and it gives you the option of receiving AM airband signals. So yes, all in all, a very nice little new model from Baofeng. I do like the color scheme on it, and I do like the nice black and white screen. So I hope you enjoyed the video and the look at the new Baofeng K6 Pro, it says on the manual, but I bought it as a K61 Pro. So don't be worried about the K6 or K61. Functionally, the radios are identical. As I say, I refer to it as the K61 Pro. That's what I bought it as. But if you get the manual and it says K6, don't worry. They're exactly the same radio. So thanks for watching the radio, folks, and my review of the Baofeng K61 Pro radio. Similar, but different to the old K6, K61 radio. They are indeed unidentical twins. So thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, and feel free to subscribe to the channel should you wish to. All free, of course. But thanks for watching my review of the K61 Pro radio, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye for now.